Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video here at tablemon. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to be taking a look at Seinosuke's second place at the World Championships Roaring Moon EX deck. Now this is obviously a very powerful deck, had a stellar performance at the World Championships, and it is a deck that a lot of players, myself included, probably disregarded a little too early. I focused too much on testing the water energy version with energy switches, but this more straightforward version, just pure dark, pure aggression, obviously was very effective all the way onto finals, where it was finally stopped by Iron Thorns EX. But Roaring Moon EX with frenzied gouging attack can 1KO anything, which is outstanding. And then Calamity Storm, also a very powerful attack, doing 220 damage as long as there's a stadium in play that you get to discard, which there's tons of, and you play 4 PokéStops to help you with that as well. Now 220 does come up short of the sometimes key 230 damage, but obviously it's enough to KO Lugias, to KO Regidragos, to KO Ogerpons, Fezandipitis, Rotons, Luminions, Squawks, and Mew-EXs without even needing the stadium. So very powerful attack, and your goal is to just get 2/2 prizes, right? That's usually the goal of the deck. In the games that we're gonna play, you'll see that happen quite often. And then the supporting cast of 2 Pecharunt EX with its Subjugating Chains ability guarantee that you can switch around and power up the right Pokemon on the bench with Dark Patch and have the right attacker up front, as well as its attack doing 60 damage for every prize card your opponent has taken. If you're able to weave in the Roaring Moon or the Radiant Greninja in there and your opponent is down to 1 prize card, you're doing 300 damage, which is very powerful in and of itself. Then double Squawkabilly EX to make sure that pricing it is not an issue. It's so essential to this deck to just dump your hand in the beginning, find more resources. That's really powerful. And then we have the Roaring Moon with the fletching attack. It's amazing attacker, single price Pokemon, very sturdy with that 140 HP, and you're not going to build up to a lot of damage. In general, you're going to be dealing in the 90 to 110 range, which is more than enough to take care of low HP basic Pokemon and try to force your opponent to play a 7 prize game. And then Fezandipiti EX and Radiant Greninja help with helping Squawkabilly EX to draw extra cards, flip the script, an incredibly powerful ability, and then Radiant Greninja's concealed cards, pretty useful not only to see more cards but also to synergize with Professor Sada's Vitality, which is the core of the deck. Makes you allows you to be able to power up 2 Roaring Moon EXs at once, gets 2 energy into play, draws you extra cards, and is the core of the deck. However, we do have Judge to be a little bit more disruptive as well, and we have Dark Patches to help us power up in case we end up charging or using Boss's Orders that particular turn. The rest is just pure consistency and aggression for Dark Patch, Earthen Vessel, Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, Trekking Shoes, and Pokémon Catcher to try to target the right Pokemon, as well as the Prime Catcher as our ace pick of choice, 2 Pokégears to help us with hitting those Sadas, a copy of Night Stretcher, which I would love to have a second one, honestly, in this deck to help with just recovering knocked out Fezandipitis or knocked out Roaring Moons. And then we have the Pal Pad to recover discarded Professor Sada, switch with Squawks and Ultra Balls and Vessels and PokéStops, especially the randomness of PokéStop. It's important to have that sort of recovery. So 9 Darkness Energy rounds out the deck. Let's jump in some games and see how we do. Alright, so my opponent won the coin flip. They did choose to go first, so perhaps that indicates that we're up against Regidrago. Yeah, we'll see. And there is an Ogerpon in the active spot immediately. So, I mean, Raging Bolt, which is the other Ogerpon deck, will usually want to go second, so you gotta assume that that is what's happening. We're up against Regidrago, and therefore getting the first KO here would be pretty important. Bravery Charm actually sort of changes things in that, yeah. Alright, so lots of options. Obviously, we can play all the cards we have. If I really want to get a first turn KO, I will need some energies in the discard pile. We do find that 2 of them are prized. We have access to Pecharunt, we have a Roaring Moons. The regular Roaring Moon is prized, however. So we do have Squawk. We didn't prize any Sada, any of our supporters, really. So, yeah, nothing too impactful prize. The PokéStop Pretty good overall. Now, don't really care about the catcher here, so here's what I'm thinking. I played on the PokéStop, I Ultra Ball for Pecharunt, and I Ultra Ball for... and I Ultra Ball for Squawk. I think that makes sense to me. So I'm gonna forfeit the Trekking Shoes. I mean, I have to forfeit everything, right? Pecharunt is pretty important here if I want to get some switching going and make sure I can attack this turn for a knockout. I really won't mind using Frenzied Gouging to knock out the active if I need to. It's not that big a deal, but we're gonna start with the Squawk. We're looking for that Professor Sada's Vitality, which we do in fact not hit. So next up we're gonna go PokéStop. There's a risk we discard a Sada here. Yep, it was the next card indeed. That's okay. So I'm gonna forfeit the boss's orders as well. I do think between the catchers I have left, the boss, and the Prime Catcher, I should have enough. Now I did prize a Dark Patch as well. So, I mean, now it comes down to, wait, what Pokemon did I discard? A Roaring Moon, so that could actually be big. I need a Dark Patch or a Professor Sada off of the Trekking Shoes in order to get this attack going. Not super great. I mean, the Ultra Ball could let me use Greninja to dig a little deeper, but I feel like I'd rather, like, the discards are also quite costly, but we do manage to hit the Dark Patch, which is pretty nice. So now we are even able to, yeah, now we're able to get the knockout thanks to finding that second Dark Patch. So a little unfortunate on the Professor Sada. I feel like with over 30 cards in the deck, it's correct to do the PokéStop. Some will argue that I should have Trekking Shoes first, and in this specific situation, yes, I would have found the Sada, right? But that's not necessarily true every single time. So we are going to Frenzied Gouging. We are on a little bit of a clock, if you will, because of the poison, right? But at least we're not going down if my opponent doesn't attack me, right? So there's still the possibility that I could use this Roaring Moon once again next turn to get another attack off, or if my opponent knocks me out, then we lose 2 prizes, which is fine. You know, we're trying to go 2-2-2, and that's all right. Now we don't have a great follow-up though. The best card to find would be Fezandipiti, assuming I get KO'd. We do see a Lightning Energy, so I guess I was wrong and my opponent is playing Raging Bolt, just choosing wrong in terms of what to do. I feel like Raging Bolt, in my opinion, should always be going second. But, I mean, I guess some players might disagree. They might have not noticed. I don't know. Yeah. But so far, so good. Yeah. We accomplished our goal. We got the turn on knockout. Now that we know it is Raging Bolt, I don't really fear any sort of retaliation in terms of energy switch. So in order for them to get the return KO this turn, they would need to attack with Sandy Shocks. I think that would be, yep, their best choice, you know, their best course of action. Or they could have attacked with Raging Bolt, but that definitely seems very unnecessary. Now this is where I might, you would think I could regret having discarded the boss, but realistically, if I want to get another 2 prize knockout here, I will likely need to find Prime Catcher and play Professor Sada, right? Now that I'm down 2 Dark Patches, so we'll see. My opponent has taken 2 prizes. That means Pecharunt is now doing 120 damage, and that might be my attacker of choice if I'm able to find a Dark Patch, just because it's not weak to grass, but it's also not perfect. So we're gonna start off with a PokéStop, and then after I PokéStop, I will Pal Pad back some resources. I do find a Nest Ball, which is pretty fantastic. That will give me the Pecharunt, and I could technically Ultra Ball for the Greninja once again, but I feel like between Pecharunt and Trekking Shoes, I'm more likely to find what I need. So I am going to Pal Pad back these two supporters. You never know when the boss could come in handy later down the line. So we're gonna start off with a flip the script. We find the Prime Catcher, we find a Dark Patch, and we find a Pokégear. That flip the script might have been one of the best, if not the best, flip the scripts I could have gotten. Like the only thing that would have been better if I had found the Sada, which I just found. So looking pretty good. Now the best thing here is that I don't need to use Frenzied Gouging. I can just discard the PokéStop now with Calamity Storm to knock out the Ogerpon. So then Sandy Shocks can't return KO. If my opponent wants to get a return KO, they need to attach. They need to play a 2-prizer, and then if they have a 2-prizer in play, I will likely just be able to win next turn by using Sada again. So this game is all but over, honestly, at this point in time. If my opponent knocks me out, good for them. If they don't, well, good for me, right? And then we are going to go for the Prime Catcher onto the Ogerpon. There's a mosquito flying around here. All right, so then what else do I need? The Nest Ball, sure, just establish the Greninja, give myself maximum possibilities to draw into the Professor Sada that I need to win, or the last Dark Patch in order to power up the Pecharunt. And I think that's it. The energy is valuable, right? So we're just gonna go ahead and Calamity Storm, choosing to discard the stadium, putting ourselves down to 2 prizes. And this is the importance of going second with these sort of decks. You get the first 2 prizes and it's downhill from there for everyone, for everyone involved. Yeah, we are definitely in a format where games last 3 to 4 turns on average, which realistically should mean there shouldn't be too many ties, sorry. Yet people still tie a lot. So if you find that you're tying a lot, you probably need to speed up your gameplay, because games go by so fast. I mean, there are a lot of actions to be done, but they're usually decently straightforward. We do see a Raging Bolt. My opponent does have the Ogerpon, which does hit for weakness, but cannot be powered up in a single turn. My opponent cannot take 2 prizes with Sandy Shocks. The maximum damage they can do is 180 to my 190 HP Pecharunt DX. So if they play any sort of damage modifier, then maybe they could get 2 prizes without having a 2-prizer in play, but then that means my Roaring Moon survives, and all I need to do is find the boss's orders in order to win the game, right? Or flip heads on Pokémon Catcher. Between Radiant Greninja, Fezandipiti, and Pokégear, right? I would be looking at pretty much every card in my deck, so I'd feel pretty confident of finding the boss. Like, boss would need to be bottom 2 cards. You know, that's the only way. Now, my opponent decides to play Prime Catcher, so then that's immediately game over. Goes after the Fezandipiti, so that I don't draw cards to find the cards that I no longer need because I just Frenzied Gouging and I win. So probably just needed that to retreat. I assume they realize that the game is over by them doing this. This is something that a lot of people do. They'll do all their actions, and once the game is about to be over, they'll concede, maybe to get extra damage on their record, extra points. I really don't know. But 2 clicks separate us from the victory here. And with the other Pokégear, I want to say it was guaranteed that I was going to win, even if my opponent somehow had a Vitality Band plus had a Vitality Band to knock out my Pecharunt with the Sandy Shocks. I'm very confident I would have won the game regardless. But there we go. Yeah, pretty powerful deck. On to the next game. All right, I won the coin flip this time around, so now I'm choosing to go second. And we have a similar-ish hand than the previous one. I should be able to use the Dark Patch once I get the Pecharunt plus Squawkabilly, assuming Squawkabilly is available. My opponent does start Fezandipiti, perfect Pokemon for us to get 2 prizes on, gets a fire attached and will pass. So let's see if we can get the dunk here. That energy probably makes it even more likely. Now we do have Squawk available, which is fantastic. No Sada's priced either. No Dark Patch is priced either, so I'm liking my odds. Did price 2 energy once again, but I already have 2 here, so that's perfectly fine overall. Now, considering using the PokéStop before in case I discard supporters and I Pal Pad them back, probably not worth it. Let's just get the Pecharunt. Now I have thought of a more Peko in this deck as a way to help with the retreat. I mean, I can Dark Patch here. Yeah, okay, so this was probably a mistake. I should have just grabbed a Roaring Moon here. I likely should have just used a Roaring Moon. Yeah, that was actually a mistake. Alright, let's try to fix the mistake. And nope. That's okay. Alright, so I'll use the Dark Patch. That should have been a Roaring Moon for sure, because I can't switch out anyways, right? So that should have been a Roaring Moon. It would already have 1 energy, and then I could just Ultra Ball for the other one. Playing the Professor, or playing the Dark Patch could have also been a mistake here. I mean, now I can't switch. So I'm just going to attach 1 energy instead of 2, just so that I can steal Dark Patch potentially. Alright, but I do not. I have in fact failed to get this KO right now. So the opponent will survive here. Yeah, the opponent will survive. I think even if I had gotten the Roaring Moon, I was 1 energy short of pulling this off. Though I would have maybe not PokéStopped. I don't know. Yeah, not the best sequencing from my end. We're not up against Charizard. We're actually up against Regidrago, who continues to dead draw. So that's not great. So based on that, I'm gonna try not to judge. Do find a Night Stretcher, which is not very useful right now. I mean, it gets me an energy, but it's not what we're looking for. All right. So we're gonna thin out deck a little bit more. And then we're gonna try the double Pokégear here. I really don't want to judge, honestly. Well, I guess I will judge if I need to. So let's just get rid of PokéStop. Like, I really should be winning this turn. I really should be. So 2 tries at Pokégear, alright. I mean, I'm still gonna play the other Pokégear as a way to thin. Okay, because now all I need is 1 energy or 1 Earthen Vessel. That's all I need. And there it is. So we're gonna switch. Subjugating Chains. We do get poisoned. We do attach. And Frenzied Gouging for the win. So unfortunate for my opponent. Yeah. Probably didn't piece out that first turn perfectly, so I should have slowed down a little bit and really thought things through. I sort of went into automatic pilot of getting the Pecharunt when I really should have just grabbed another Roaring Moon. That would have definitely increased my chances of pulling this off, but let's try one more game. All right, so my opponent is finishing their setup. Our opponent chose to go first. I missed that actually. And wow, that was funny. So the log showed their basic before they flipped it over. Now, is this Greninja EX? Will that be an issue? It could. It definitely could. There's Duskull and Dusknoir and Pidgeot, so triple stage to decks, obviously hard to make them work. My opponent sees a Squawk, doesn't know what they're up against. We do find the Professor Sada, so that should guarantee that I get this first KO, and I'm gonna try and do it with no, I need to do it. If I can do it with the basic Roaring Moon, that's fantastic, and I'm pretty sure I can. Now I could go Pokemon Catcher, try to knock out the Pidgey, right? But I feel like knocking out the one attacker is likely the way to go. So we're gonna start off for one, which is perfectly fine. We're also going to establish a Roaring Moon. Yeah, why not? And we are going to go ahead and Dark Patch. Maybe establishing Pecharunt could have been decent. So I don't have to pay the retreat. I think this is fine. Obviously not gonna use the Pokégear. I already played a supporter and I don't want to discard any further. And then this is just, it's not icing on the cake. It's pretty good. Now I could play all of these cards, but if I do get disrupted, all of these cards are very good. I also don't want to give my opponent the PokéStop. So in order to be able to adapt a little better next turn, I'm just gonna keep my hand as is and then work from there. See my top deck, see my price card. And I think this is a perfect example of just because you can play a card doesn't mean you have to. You know? I feel like a lot of players would just immediately slam the PokéStop, use it, Earthen Vessel, perhaps a Trekking Shoes, or keep that one, but thin the deck, yeah, Trekking Shoes. Maybe having a more stable board is worth it, but it's not like I got Nest Balls to guarantee it, right? I got Trekking Shoes, which can become other different resources at different points in time, so I do think it was worth keeping for now. You know? Now, my opponent does have the Iono response, does have a Rotom established, does have a Fezandipiti X as well now for that flip the script. As long as I get a price card next turn, I'm gonna be pretty happy. And I feel like that should be, well, now it's guaranteed, right? Because they should be able to retreat that Duskull. And what's gonna happen is I knock out the Duskull, they knock out the Moon most likely by going Rare Candy Greninja. Ooh, discarding a Rare Candy. So then this could change things. This has to be Pidgeot, right? Yeah. If you're Ultra Balling and discarding a Candy, you're obviously going Rare Candy Pidgeot once again. We could see another Froakie get benched. And I really don't mind. Like, if I'm 2 prizes ahead, I'm comfortable. Like, that's all I need to worry about. Being 2 prizes ahead, I'm comfortable. Even if they get 2 prizes next turn, then I Frenzied Gouging, get 2 more, and then I have plenty of opportunities on the bench to just outright win, right? So I'm feeling pretty good. Pretty good. All right, we do see the Froakie. And we see the Rotom, so powerful turn for my opponent for sure. Okay, so want to establish the Moon. Also kind of want to establish the Fezandipiti. If they go after it, they go after it, and that's fine. And I will also establish the Pecharunt, just to guarantee that I have retreating into anything I need. Now I will play the PokéStop. We're gonna go Trekking Shoes, don't need the Ultra Ball anymore. And Squawk, alright. So we're gonna go Judge, see what we get. Looking to get some Sadas, Dark Patches, Energies, all of that good stuff. I'm not gonna play the Dark Patch though. Whatever Pokemon I commit the Dark Patch to will likely be targeted. So we're just gonna go Vengeance Fletching. I can't get a KO. I was 1 energy away from getting a KO on one of these, or even the Pidgeot as well, thanks to Prime Catcher, but this is fine. Yeah, like I said, as long as I am 2 prizes ahead, and I can just get 2 prizes next turn and then 2 prizes the turn after, I've won the game. So I'm not too concerned about what my opponent can do. They do have that annoying second attack that deals damage to the bench, but they can't get 6 prizes. So unless they get, even if they get 2 right now, there's no way for them to get 4 in the next turn, right? I think. I might be wrong. We'll see. Now, Lost City, not a big deal. We do see the candy into Greninja. Shinobi Blade incoming for sure. Yep. especially after that attachment. As he flipped the script, so my opponent committing a lot of things before the flip the script, which usually you want to flip the script, fill up your hand of options, and then start committing to the board, because some of the cards you draw from flip the script could change what you end up doing. Arven for Counter Catcher plus 4 Seal Stone, so perhaps likely going after the Fezandipiti, which I do like for my opponent. Also lost zoning it, so oh, never mind. Okay. So then what was what was the point of playing the Arven? I mean, I guess to establish the 4 Seal Stone, but you already have Shinobi Blade and you already have Pidgeot. Like, I don't know. The only way you can try to keep up is if I whiff at some point, right? And therefore, knocking out the Fezandipiti seemed like the best way. Like, eventual disruption plus Fezandipiti, like, eventual disruption and therefore me whiffing is the way to win this game. But anyways, I mean, I have to, right? I need to power up on the bench and I will need to switch. I'm not loving the option to Frenzied Gouging myself, but that's okay. I mean, I don't need to actually because of Prime Catcher. So let's start off with thinning energies. Now with this, I am more than prepared enough to just outright get a knockout this turn, but I'm really looking forward to perfect. Pal Padding back the 2 Sadas. Now I have, I believe, all 4 Sadas in the deck left. So we're gonna go Trekking Shoes. Yeah, I'll keep the Greninja. Why not? Then I will... Alright, I'll draw with Greninja first. 2 more. Can definitely afford another energy. Alright, another Trekking Shoes. Pretty content with discarding the Catcher. I have another one. I have the Prime. Now I have triple Dark Patch and Pokégear. Yeah, 3 Professor Sadas in the top 7 cards when I have 13 cards left. That is to be expected. So I might be able to just create checkmate here. I generally might be. More Sadas galore. I will be able to have 2 Roaring Moons fully powered up. And I can also just... I don't even need to Frenzied Gouging anymore. So to say this is game over would be an understatement. I'm gonna go Prime Catcher on their Fezandipiti. There's merit to knocking out Rotom because of Force Stone, but this is actually checkmate. There's no way my opponent can win this game anymore. They have 5 prizes. And I'm down to 2. So, I mean, I guess there is merit to not using the Prime Catcher so that in case they attack with a non-B, but if they're doing that then, or a non-EX rather, if they're doing that, they're also not winning the game. So this is 100% game over, even if they go Mirage Barrage and get like, well, now with the double turbo they can't. If they had been able to somehow Mirage Barrage these 2, no, they can't. They can't hit for weakness. Never mind. There's no humanly possible way. I was imagining a world where they did 240, 242 each, but they can't deal damage to the bench like that. So we do see the Counter Catcher onto the Squawk. The only way they could have maybe prevented me from retreating and using enough Mirage Barrages to stop me from winning was through bringing up Pecharunt, but now even that's impossible. So maybe they don't realize what Pecharunt does. And they get Roxanne. I have a game on board, so the Roxanne does not matter. Roxanne onto Pecharunt could have mattered. That's the only instance where that actually could have mattered. But unless my last 2 prizes are 2 energies, if my last 2 prizes were 2 energies, I would have lost the game if they did that. But clearly they're not, right? So my opponent is doing a lot of things, they're just not good enough. That's the issue. That is the real issue. All right. 20, well 100 rather, yeah, 100, because double turbo does reduce the damage even if you choose to discard it. A lot of people are confused over that, but it is reduced because when you declare the attack, the double turbo is attached. Now sure, my opponent gets 2 prizes after I frenzy gouging, and then I also get the last 2 prizes, so I just win. So yeah, I mean, I guess my opponent didn't realize about Pecharunt. They're pretty mad. They're sending the angry emojis, and that's it. Yeah, so pretty powerful deck when it flows as well also for sure. But I mean, the deck is so well rounded, so fast, and I'm sure a lot of you will mention, but Pablo, you rated this deck in the worst tier. You didn't give it any merit, and that's true. Yeah, that's because I was only testing and I was so focused on the water energy switch version, which those 4 energy switches take up a lot of space, right? I was a lot more respectful of Charizard and Gardevoir heading into Worlds, but this more straightforward, no water energy version, which if I had put more time into perhaps testing the deck, maybe I would have just disregarded those options and come to something closer like this. And yeah, I mean, I also make mistakes, yeah, because a lot of people are posting like in retrospective, even with clown emojis, like, oh, you had your predictions wrong, and it's like, yeah, I can't know the future, man. Like, it's impossible for me to predict. But anyways, that's besides the point. Roaring Moon, powerful deck. Seinosuke, pretty amazing deck and pretty amazing performance as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.